I really respect people that kind of go against the grain to pursue their own passions. And Drew, you, I think, might be the epitome of that. Welcome to Center for Victory's podcast, your best day yet. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. I'm your host today, Kolb, and I am super stoked for our guest today. I am joined by one of my best friends in the whole world, my former Nebraska wrestling teammate. He's a world traveler, Drew Etherton. So, from launching his first business at 19 years old to visiting 50 countries before he turned 30, co-founding Consbeeracy Brewing, and now the founder of Agoge Visuals, Drew's journey is anything but ordinary. Welcome, Drew. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast, man.
Pumped to be here, Caleb. It's
And one
good
of
to
the
see
things
you.
that's really cool about doing this for me, I got started actually just filled in for Eric one day, and had the opportunity to do more of these. And one of the things that I really love about this is I get to pick the people that I interview. And I think one theme of everybody that I talk to is that they uh, really don't take the traditional kind of societal path, that society would tell you that you take. And I really respect people that kind of go against the grain to pursue their own passions. And Drew, you, I think, might be the epitome of that. I've always admired your willingness to just pick up and travel the world and pursue your dreams. I remember when you told me you were starting a vlog and and you got a camera and a drone, and I'm like, all right, buddy, good luck with that. To now, having your own company, having clients, growing, being the founder of multiple companies, it's super exciting. And so, thanks for coming on, man.
Dude, I'm glad to be here, happy to be chatting with you, and just thanks for having me, I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, and for those of you at home, make sure you send Drew well wishes and congratulations. He recently got married. So, how long has it been? A month now, maybe?
Yeah, almost no, it's almost 2 months. It was end of May, but
Yeah. Yep. And I got the opportunity to drive out to Lincoln, Nebraska from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was an amazing weekend. I think the one thing I learned from that is I will never be driving by myself from Pittsburgh to Lincoln again. That is a long drive on Interstate 80.
especially for 2 days, maybe. You had 2 days there and you had 2 days driving essentially, so.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe more than 2 days driving. That is not for the faint of heart. But if you Southwest is having a great sale right now on flights. Like I just checked, it's still like $240 round trip. So if you want to come
Yes.
to Lincoln for a game day or something, you could check it
Yeah.
out now. So
Potentially Penn State, Nebraska.
okay. Is that at
So
home? Is that home here?
yeah, it's at
Oh,
Nebraska this year.
okay.
So
Well,
I got some
nice.
got some folks that are interested. But anyhow, let's get into this, man. So we met. You were at Nebraska Kearney, wrestling at Nebraska Kearney. You had transferred to UNL. We really became friends kind of after we graduated. We were pretty much hanging out every day. And I remember you had already, for years had been running your screen printing company. We actually for our nonprofit, the first time we ever got T-shirts, I called my buddy Drew in Nebraska, and you screen printed 50 shirts for us, the camo shirts with the digital camo with the one color ATP logo on them. So let's talk about just starting a business when you're 19 years old. I think that's so cool. I think I really encourage my wrestlers when I was coaching, young kids, get involved, start something, pursue it with passion, and tell me about how that all started.
Yeah, so after high school and then going into college, I kind of knew I was like, I don't think I can work for someone and like have this strict schedule of everything. For wrestling, it worked out great. Like for wrestling was like the only time I was like, I need you to tell me exactly what to do and I'm gonna do it. But other than that, like I didn't really like being told what to do. And I just kind of always was like, oh, I want to start a business that gets me excited. And so I was in college and I was doing all these wrestling camps. And I remember there was a one of the assistants at UNK um, was really good at the wrestling move, the twister, like so good at it. And he made an instructional video on how to do the twister. And before I was even in college, I had watched it and everything. And he put on camps for it. And I was with him. We were counselors at a camp. He was like the clinician. I was just a counselor. And I just saw him selling tons of shirts and DVDs. And I was like, oh, yeah, you could make some money doing that. And I was like, well, wrestling. I don't really have that much time to get a job. So I was like, that'd be a good way to make money is like sell, like how come up with a brand or something. So I was like, oh, I need to come up with a brand, but I was just this freshman at college. Like you're starting from nothing and then you're like, oh, you're starting a clothing brand. And so I told my roommate at the time, Keenan McCurdy, who was a redshirt senior, I was a true freshman. I was like, hey, do you want to be in on this with me so I can just sell it to like anyone else? Like, oh, Keenan and I are doing this thing and then get all the, get the team behind it. And so
Yeah.
he didn't really have much to do with it, but his name was on it. And so then I just started selling shirts. This was after my first year and is when I really got it off the ground. And it's nice to be able to start a business and not have to live off the income. Like,
Yeah.
and that's like a cheat code in business that you can't do when you're married with kids and
Right.
like I had 4 years after my first year to grow this business before I'm like, I have to live off this full time.
Right.
So I just, came out with one shirt, sold those out, and then I invested all that money into then I has two different shirts, and then sold that and doubled it again, and then shirts and hats and sweatshirts and bags and whatever it was, and I'd sell it in the summers at wrestling camps. I really only worked the summers, like maybe a tournament or two in the fall when I had time, but it was mostly in the summer. And by the time I was done with school, I it was to the point where I could live off that and also take time to travel. And
Yeah.
I could take as much time off as I wanted, especially after college, like um, as long as I was back for the main selling season and for wrestling, that's summer and then spring pretty much. And yeah, so that just it worked out well and
Well, I
um
think that's one thing you're really good at is finding the niche in the market. I know one of the things that you were really good at is keeping up with pop culture. When we were back in the day, I remember like whatever would happen in pop culture, Drew was slinging T-shirts on it, you
oh yeah.
know. And I thought that was awesome. So before we kind of get into the travel, so how did you come up with the name Agoge? You've told me this before, but for those like, what is Agoge? What does that mean?
Yeah, a lot of people say it Ajoge or OG or I've heard Oogie. There's a lot, but Agoge, I heard about it from the movie 300. So my high school team were the Spartans, Lincoln East Spartans, and 300 came out when I was in high school, the movie, and it was such a cool movie, and we were so into it. And there was a thing that Spartans would do; they would send their kids to Agoge from like age 13 till or maybe like age, I forget what ages it was, maybe 8 to 17 or something like that, where they literally like they just go and train and that's all they do is they just train in combat, they train how to steal, they train how to like essentially like be a CIA agent was what we'd call it today. But
Yeah.
they had to do it at a young age. And in the movie, like you have to kill a wolf before you can come back to like the herd. Like at some point, they just kick you out of the city and they're like, you have to eat, you have to find shelter, you have to be able to kill things. And I just thought that was really interesting. I thought the name was cool, and I just kind of settled on that. And I was like, there wasn't anything Agoge really related out there in the clothing space. And so I thought it had potential, and that just picked up on that. And actually, my media company is now Agoge Visuals,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so that's like the backstory of Agoge. But we eventually it's now a youth wrestling club in Lincoln. So it's
Yeah.
the high school because I coached high school wrestling after college for like 6 years. We started a youth club and it's called Team Agoge Wrestling, and it was based off the clothing company, but now it's just a standalone thing. So
I remember running practices with
yeah,
Austin Trotman a couple days a week over at
Y-
Lincoln East High School with
you you
Team
were
Agoge.
you were a Team Agoge coach.
Hey everyone, Kolb here with AMP Adventures. Today we are out in Glacier National Park in Montana. We're just a couple miles south of Canada. There's some beautiful views here. This is Kinnerly Peak, Kitla Peak, Mount Peabody. So it's been a great trip so far. If you're interested on any of our adventures, check out the experiences tab. See you on the trail. so
That is true.
So when did this travel bug, when did you get bit by the travel bug? And I really appreciate the way that you travel, Drew, because I think there's two types of traveling. There's the luxury vacationing and resort packages, and and then there's the way that we do it. And you may be on a bus, you may be sleeping in a hostel. You may be doing some unconventional traveling, scheduling, flight purchasing, really to extend your time out of country. And so tell me really how you got involved in that. Let's just start there, kind of how you got involved in that.
So I decided to transfer from UNK to UNL, and I kind of knew that was coming at the end of that wrestling season. And we at UNK, they were doing a trip to Turkey, Bulgaria, and France to wrestle. So we're gonna be wrestling in Turkey and Bulgaria. And I went on that trip even though I was transferring, and they allowed me to still go on that trip. And from there, I was like, this was really interesting. It was like an 11-day trip, so it wasn't very long. And I was ready to get home. And I was like, man, but it was a culture shock. But then by the end of it, I was like, I think I kind of liked that. Maybe I do something like that again once wrestling's over. And when I transferred to Nebraska, Agoge, the clothing company, was picking up big time, and I was wrestling at Nebraska. And weirdly enough, the your schedule with University of Nebraska versus the University of Nebraska Kearney is a lot higher on the wrestling team, or
Yeah.
it's a lot heavier. You take on a lot more things. So I was like between running the clothing company and wrestling, I barely did schoolwork. Like I didn't have time. I had three main things. Actually, I had four because I had a girlfriend who is now my wife, and then um, I had my clothing company, I had my wrestling career, and I had schoolwork. And I was miserable and I was just so over it. And I was like, man, like the thing I that took the backseat of all it would have been the schoolwork because it's like wrestling is the reason I'm probably still in college because I already have my business going. Like
Right.
I'd never use my economics degree that I got.
Right.
And economics isn't the easiest one. So to get. But um and so I was just so exhausted. I was so miserable in my last like year and a half at Nebraska and um when I got to the end, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go on a trip. Like as soon as I'm done with school, my plate has been lifted, like, all the weight has been lifted off, and I went on a trip with one of my UNK friends, and went for a month to Europe, and that was kind of like that's what I want to do is like I'm gonna do one trip and then I'm done. I'm never gonna do it again, but I wanted to go to the Czech Republic was like the main thing. And so I went on this trip, Italy, Ireland, Czech Republic was pretty much it. And I was like, flying home, I was like, I loved that. And I was like, wow, that was like unbelievable. I couldn't like wrap my head around like how much better that was than the wrestling trip. And I was in Dulles Airport in DC and our flight was delayed. And I was talking to this old couple and they were like, so what'd you do? And it's like, oh, just backpacking for a month around Europe. And the wife goes, be careful. Like, you might, you might get like addicted to that. And like, you might get bit by this travel bug. She's like, cause my husband did. And he like was gone, he was traveling when they were younger forever. Like he just
Yeah.
left and went traveling. And I was like, I think I may have. And so then
Yeah.
at that point, I would take off at least 2 months, if 2 to 4 months every year, and just go to a different place in the world that I hadn't been to. So,
Yeah. Um, that's kind of like I remember that's when we really started becoming friends was after all of our after the rigors of collegiate wrestling was over. And I remember like when I was getting recruited, like all these coaches would say, well, think of college as like this kind of Venn diagram, right? You have your athletics, you have your social, and then you have your academics. You can only be good at two of them, so you had those two or those three, plus you're running a company. So I can imagine how difficult that was. And then, so then you start traveling. And that's what I remember is like you'd come home, you'd print t-shirts, you'd make enough money to leave the country. And then I wouldn't see you for like 7 months, and Drew's phone's off. Nobody knows where he's at. And you'd come back and just share some amazing stories. And so, talk to us about kind of just some of the your travels and share some stories of that and kind of like why do you think it's important that people do that to travel, especially internationally, experiencing these other cultures?
so yeah, I think for me, it was the biggest change for everything is like I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I knew a ton of people in Lincoln, Nebraska. People knew me in Link, not, not a ton of people, but a lot of people knew of me. And I, wrestling was my identity for so long. And I had an injury my freshman year, and that really curbed the rest of my career. And in retrospect, uh, I probably should have stopped wrestling after my freshman year just because of my back. It was a herniated disc in my back. It was never going to be fixed. And it just kind of limited what I could do wrestling wise. But I still wanted to do it. It's like this is what, not only is
Hmm.
this good for my business now, is like getting to know wrestlers. And I was teammates with, at Agoge, I sponsored UFC fighters when I'm 20 years old. Like I sponsored Jake Ellenberger in UFC fight. I was living with Joe Ellenberger, who eventually fought in the UFC. Rafion Stotts, I think he was Bellator champ. He
Yeah.
was on our team at UNK. Kamaru Usman, obviously
Yeah.
UFC champ. I was on a team with him for 2 years, and we were buddies. And um, so I was like, there's a networking aspect to wrestling as well. And I kind of knew after like my sophomore year, I was like, The wrestling thing is probably not gonna, I'm not gonna reach my potential by any stretch of the imagination." But it's like, this is what I'm doing. I had ideas of fighting, going into MMA. I thought MMA would potentially be less hard on my back just because, like, wrestling, you're in so many positions, you got to use your back. In MMA, you can kind of wiggle out of that. But um, so there was an aspect of that. I would train MMA in the summers as well, and that kept me going. But um, the thing that when I got done with college, I was like, okay, well, I had a failed college career. Um, my identity's still in wrestling, but it's like I have a failed identity. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of tough. And I was like, I don't want to be known as a wrestler.
Right.
Like, and people know me as a wrestler, and that is what it is. But I was like, I want to go where no one knows me and where no one knows I was a wrestler. They don't even know what wrestling is. And so I think subconsciously I got addicted to that of like, I'm a new person every single day. No one knows who I am. And socially, it's like, I'm just some random guy from Nebraska who no one's ever heard of Nebraska, or if they
Hmm.
have, they've never been there. And I just think the social challenge of that was interesting and fun, and you can kind of just be a new person, I guess, and while also just going and experiencing all these different things and just seeing how other people live and meeting other people. And um so I think initially it was like a social challenge of I don't want to be known as this thing, I guess,
Right.
if that makes
No, I
sense.
understand that. I think that's one thing that I think there's a lot of different careers where people experience that like lack of identity when they're done with them. Like I think athletics is huge. Like I had the same thing. Even like you were talking about like that kind of failed identity. Like my goal, I want to be a national champ. I was never a national champ, and then you graduate, and it's like, all right, now what? Right? And even kind of in my day to day, I see that a lot with like our veteran community. These combat veterans, they come home and now they're thrown back into like civilization, just like the civilian world. It's like, well, now what do I do? I know my dad talks about that a lot with like professional athletics, like coming, when they retire and how many, um, you know, professional athletes go broke just because they're having that trouble adapting to the general civilian lifestyle. But yeah, so I definitely understand that, and I think you have the personality. I think that's why we got connected. Is you're a people. You're a people person. You make friends everywhere you go, and so of all the so you've been to how many countries now? I know we went to Belize. It was your
Oh
50th
yeah.
country for your 30th birthday was Belize. How many countries are you up to now?
So I think it depends on what people define as a country. Some people don't say Scotland's a country. They say it's the United Kingdom, which technically it probably is. I I'm more liberal with those things, so I
Sure.
think it's like 64.
64
And
countries.
yeah, and I'm going to next week. I will be in Finland and then do all the Baltics, so Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and then dip back down to Poland, but I've already been to Poland, so maybe getting to Belarus. It's
Yeah.
probably not a great idea, but we're gonna test the waters while we're there. Especially having camera equipment and drones, they don't.
Right.
Yeah, that's
You're
not
traveling with a
advised.
lot more expensive gear than you were when you were 22 years old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And well, it's more of the surveillance because Belarus is very tight with Russia and they've already detained uh people for just having drones. Now, I would obviously leave that in like the Lithuanian side, but I kind of like I don't know, it's that like that uncomfortability. I haven't had that in a while. I mean, I guess
Right.
I did go to Ukraine last year and there was a little uncomfortability doing that because you just don't know what is going on if you're going to get caught in something, but after you kind of just get comfortable going to a lot of places and I like the uncomfortability. Like I have no butterflies in my stomach whatsoever going to the Baltics and all those things. Like I haven't had that since Ukraine, but then even before then, like having that initial fear of a place and like
Yeah.
then you get comfortable, you're like, oh, this is not bad. Like, or this is not what I thought it was, or you
Yeah.
kind of just expand your comfortability and you get more
There's a
comfortable and
there's a whole book on this. I don't know. Eric got me this book. It's called The Comfort Crisis. Have you ever heard of that
mm-mm,
book?
no.
Get it on podcasts on Audible. You can listen to it as you're traveling. But that's essentially the premise is that I think the vast majority of our culture is too comfortable with being comfortable, and there's a lot of benefits from being uncomfortable, and that's the whole reason that I like to do all of these adventure things, this mountaineering things. Like I don't have the body to be doing an ultra marathon. I'll tell you right now. I'm 220 pounds. I'm the biggest one at any of these, like at this ultra marathon, but it's like I want to challenge myself and push myself and you grow from that. And so I think that's, super important for people to do. So, where would you recommend if you of your 64 countries? What's give us the top three? What do you recommend? What's your top three countries?
It's always a hard question to answer, because there's so many great things about different places, but I usually do it by continent. So I'll go Asia. Vietnam is just unbelievable. And people are scared to go to Vietnam because of the Vietnam War. I think Americans in general. It's the safest place. It is people are so friendly. It's the scenery is wild and it's probably as close it to what it was 50 years ago as you're going to find in that region.
Yeah,
It hasn't changed that much. It is changing, but it's a communist government and they have a lot of regulations on what you can and can't do. They don't let people. it's impossible to get Vietnamese citizenship, even though people want to live there, like expats, people from other countries. But so it's very still authentic. Let's go to Europe. Man, there's so many great places. Czech Republic, where my native lands, I guess, that's where my ancestors are mostly from. Is a great place, but then I want to give you something that's not, oh, Montenegro.
Okay, yeah.
Montenegro is amazing. You can be on the beach with some of the like crystal clear water. They share a border with Croatia, so it's like that crazy clean water, but then you're also looking at mountains. And Montenegro means Black Mountain. They have tons of mountains that go right up to the ocean. So that's a great one. And then Central South America, Nicaragua, maybe. I don't know. Mexico's so great. I've been there a lot, but just
Yeah.
yeah, those places are maybe some of the best times I've had. And everyone, there's so many different places you can go, and you just got to try to get to all of them, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, give us a travel hack because give us a couple of your favorite travel hacks because I know you've told me about Montenegro when I was looking at some places. I know I was talking about we were planning a trip to Iceland and you're like, "Oh no, check out the Faroe Islands." So, give us some travel hacks, some good ways to save money. How do you what's your thrifty go-to travel hacks?
I will give you the best airport travel hack I learned, and that is to get, those neck pillows.
Yeah.
You don't need a neck pillow, but you should buy a case covering of a neck pillow because a neck pillow, technically, no matter what, is seen as a wearable item. So it's like a sweatshirt or a hat or something. They
Mm-hmm.
can't make you take it off. Um, just have the case and keep it empty. Put it in your bag if your bag's overweight. If you have to move stuff around, if it's anything like that, you put all of that stuff into your neck pillow and it can be weighing 25, 30 pounds and it probably won't, but that saved me so many times. I put camera gear in there like crazy. And so I'm just wearing this like extremely uncomfortable neck pillow that's rigid and has a lens in it and it has, drone batteries and it has all this other stuff, but they can't make you take it off. And then once you get in there, you just put it right back in your bag.
That's
You're good to
awesome.
go. You can do it
Oh,
with
I love
clothes
it.
too. With clothes, if you want to bring stuff home or whatever it is, you can pack it in there and then you can actually use it as a pillow. So
Right.
that's probably my best travel hack that I use
That's
all the time.
perfect because I did not see that coming. That's a perfect one. That's a perfect one. So let's talk Agoge Visuals because I know this is relatively new. I mean, this is how this is where you're doing this full time, right? And so tell us about you know this kind of the relaunch of this or this launch of this. I watched all of your videos, kind of your portfolio at the Palm at Playa Boutique Hotel in Mexico. The Nebraska video was phenomenal, like the Nebraska flyover video, more than just a flyover state. You did one for a Colombian coffee tour. You did one for hostels. I know you've done wrestling docu-series. So, kind of tell us what your niche kind of market is. And I know that really what you do is you're a storyteller, right? For a brand, you can do testimonial videos, ad campaigns. But what gets you excited? Tell us more about your business.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the business is new and it's also old. So
Right.
in like 2016 I had a I had a crossroads where it's like Agoge clothing was getting bigger and it was to the point it's like I have to expand, I have to hire people, I have to move into like a bigger space, I have to do all this stuff. And it's like, okay, I had people wanting to invest, and I was like, okay, I had been traveling since 2013 or 2014, 2013. And I'm like, I really love that. I had gotten into video. I had been offered to make a few videos just by word of mouth or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I love making videos. I love traveling. If I do this clothing thing, it's probably done with because I have to. I mean, I can do it 2 weeks a year, maybe. I can. It's just it's not gonna be the same. I have to go full in. If anybody's investing or anything like that, if there's people's jobs on the line, like um, it's a different game. And so I was like, okay, either I invest or I just go full time in the video, or kind of wean off the clothing, stay by myself, stay, don't upgrade, but then kind of slowly start growing the video thing. And I decided to go for the video thing. And so since then, Agoge Visuals has been there, but I had always mostly done subcontract work. I never wanted to like be salesy. I never wanted to sell. What was one great thing about clothing is I make the clothes and I put them out there, and if you like it, you buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it.
Right.
It's very low, risk interaction, or, I don't want to come off like, hey, you really need this shirt. You really need
Right.
this hat. It would look really good on you. But with video, you kind of gotta sell it. And that's just not kind of, what I'm naturally great at, I don't think. But so it's been around since then, but I've been doing subcontract work. So other people get the job. They subcontract me to film it and to do whatever. I mean, I had word of mouth stuff for sure, but um, I never really put it out there. And then just recently, I'm like, I'm gonna go all in, and like I'm doing the sales. I'm doing, I gotta have my website up. I gotta have everything. I gotta wear all the hats again. And yeah, and it's been going great. So that's kind of the relaunch of Agoge Visuals, even though I've been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah. And you've been able to do some really cool things, travels to some really cool places, work with some really cool companies. Yeah, what are some of the highlights of the companies you work with? I know you're working with an outdoor company. You also got to go to the World Cup and you were shooting kind of like vlogs at the World Cup. Like, what's kind of been your favorite client so far that you've done?
Yeah, so the one thing I love about video is everyone needs it everywhere in the world. And not that not everyone needs construction everywhere in the world, but you're not gonna, if you're a construction company in Lincoln, Nebraska, you're not gonna be like, hey, do you guys need a new pagoda in, Tokyo or something like that?
Right.
But you can do that with video. And so you can, in a way, pick your clients. In a way, you can't because they still need it or be able to pay you or however that's going to work. But you can choose the industries you want to go into, and you can move industries, and you can do all the other things. Obviously, like my favorite thing is to do is travel, and it's to do, brand story videos
Mm-hmm.
of traveling. And the Nebraska video that I made is like one of my favorite things because it's like I've never seen Ne a video made of Nebraska the way I, as a Nebraskan, know it. And so
Right.
I just made that video pro bono and tells the story the way I see it. And it's fun that you can just kind of do that anywhere you want to go. And so I worked with a lot of hostels, and probably one of my favorite I mean, there's so many, it's hard to choose, but um, doing correspondence work at the World Cup in Qatar in 2020 was, wait, no, 2024. What year is this? 2022. There it is.
Yeah.
2022. Yeah, doing correspondence work for is it's called the 18 out of Boulder, Colorado. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be there. This is what I do. I can do it at a different level. Like it's literally just on my phone. And I was just telling the story of what it's like at the World Cup, and I just love doing that so much. And um, that was just one that I was like, oh, this is sick. I was gonna be at the World Cup anyways, and it's like, oh, maybe I can reach out to sponsors and see if anybody needs any correspondence work or they need anything like that. And so that was a really cool project to work on.
Oh, I love it. Oh, it's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm so pumped to see like everything that you're doing. And one more thing I wanted to touch on while we're here is the Conspiracy Brewing Company, because I think that is such a fun name. Yep, Conspiracy
Right here.
Brewing out of Lincoln, Nebraska. So tell us, so you're a co-founder of this. Your side is all of the visual storytelling, marketing, things like that. And you've kind of shared some things that you're planning on growing this in the future. But share about that, what it is, and kind of what excites you about your role.
Yeah, so Consbeeracy Brewing Company was an idea that my buddy Adrian had, and we were sitting there one day, and I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, you know what, someday I'd like to own a brewery, or I'd like to be a part of a brewery, be an investor in a brewery or something like that. And he's like, well, I got the best idea for a brewery. And I was like, okay, pitch me. And he's like, it's called Consbeeracy Brewing. Every beer is themed on a different conspiracy theory. And whether that's cryptids or actual conspiracies or whatever it is. And it's like, it immediately, it was one of those like, yes, it was like, that is the best idea I've heard.
Yep.
Because I don't know how breweries name their beers. They're like the big red ale or, you know,
Right.
John's Pale Ale or something, whatever it is. And I'm like, now that I'm on this side, it's like we have a list, like a running shared doc, like note thing of just different conspiracies that we can add and like different beers we have. And I'm doing all the artwork and we're doing like we're doing an event this fall that is like a putt thing with one of the local businesses in town. And just like, okay, now we're gonna go dress up in gorilla suits and go to the go to the putt place and like make a video of like Sasquatch lurking around and
Yeah.
like I don't know if it's like a like an astronaut putting with JFK or something like that. Like you can just come up with fun ideas and it's not that like we believe every one of these conspiracies, it's just fun and like
Yeah.
we take a lighthearted approach to it all and
That's
it,
why I think it's so fun, just because it's such a it's fun. You know what I mean? And the artwork, like you said, you do the artwork for every single different beer, and there's so many. Give us some examples.
so
What's the one on your shirt? What's your
well,
flagship?
so this is just a logo, and this is a Loch Ness monster, but its reflection makes a sea. If you guys want to look up Consbeeracy Brewing Co. Instagram, and it's one of those. It's a growing thing. So,
Yeah, we'll put it in the link.
okay,
Face on that. She can put all your links in, and we'll do a little plug. Yeah. So all right, give us some
yeah.
other ones here.
Okay, so I mean, oh man, I can go through our Instagram and start reeling them off. Oh, the newest one we're gonna have is the DIA, Denver International Airport double IPA. So
Okay.
the conspiracy of Denver International Airport, why did it cost so much? There's like tunnels underneath, there's like levels. It goes like 5 layers, 5 or 7 levels into the ground, and they don't know what it is.
I
So
That's
that's the
awesome.
artwork I'm just finishing up right now, but that's a fun one. Bohemian Grove West Coast IPA was our first beer we did, and I love
Yeah.
that artwork. And man, there's a Chupacabra Mexican lager. That one's a fun artwork to do. But yeah, so it's like a mix of cryptids and conspiracies, and it's just a fun thing to do, and
Yeah.
it's a slow burn. It's the same thing as what I talked about with Agoge clothing is like we're not, no one's making money. We're only investing money. Like
Right.
right at this point, it's only putting it in. We do events to raise money and like we don't have a location. So it's a growth by marketing, growth by word of mouth, and by events. So like we're doing a tailgate for the Nebraska Houston Christian game. We'll be doing this putt putt event a few weeks after that. We might do another tailgate by the end of the year, but yeah, so it's a slow burn. We don't want to take on debt. We don't want to take on, having to pay these bills that is going to interfere with all of our regular jobs. And eventually it can't fail unless we do that. And
Right.
so it's one of those, it's fun. It's even having the beer be hard to get is kind of fun because then it's kind of like a secret beer. You got to know someone to get it. And
Yeah, it's exclusive.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's
So
good. And it's good. I got to taste pretty much everything you guys had on tap at your wedding, and that was really cool. So I think that's super it's a great idea. I think it's a phenomenal idea with the name and the link to the different conspiracies, and it's fun, it's lighthearted. The artwork is great, the beer tastes good. So I'm excited. I'm excited to, to just see your journey with the Agoge Visuals and Conspiracy and everything, and your marriage with Kylia. It's exciting stuff, and it's a fun chapter for you, Drew. So, how can people follow you? Well, give us what's your links, and we'll put them in the show notes as well. But give us your links, your Instagrams. How do people get a hold of you, hire
Yep.
you?
So agogevisuals.com. That's um the my website. You can go to my email, drew@agogevisuals.com. Pretty easy. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's like kind of now my home base for, outreach and just communicating with people. But, email, LinkedIn. For Conspiracy, just go to Instagram and Facebook. That's where we let everyone know about our events. And that's Consbeeracy Brewing Co. Or Conspiracy Brewing Company on Facebook, Conspiracy Brewing Co. On Instagram, and that's Consbeer, Consbeeracy, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Conspiracy. Yeah, you'll find it.
We'll tag you guys. So,
Okay.
um, well, good man. Well, thanks for coming on. Anything else you want to plug or shout out?
I don't think so. Just my man Caleb Kolb, and hey, you should try to find a way to do a trip to Montenegro,
Yeah, that's your recommendation.
dude. Like a hiking trip,
Oh
like one
man,
of your guided hikes.
I should, dude. And we talk
Montenegro,
about
man.
that. That's what you and I, when we're together and we go down the rabbit hole of like, oh, we should run a trip to this place. All right, Montenegro. Keep an eye out for it,
You know
folks.
what? I should just come on one of your trips and do a spec piece for you guys of your trip, and then I can,
The Scotland one's still a great opportunity.
that's true.
We got a lot coming up. Our fall is the busy season, so we have a bicycle trip in August, and then the big ones. I have a backpacking trip that I lead in Dolly Sods. There's 50 people last time we did that
Oh,
one, 50
wow.
guys. Um, and then we have Glacier National Park trip. That's probably my favorite. I love Glacier. We have a Zion National Park trip. So I'm excited that things, the guiding is taking off. It fires me up. That's what I'm passionate about. So Montenegro, we'll put it in the hopper. You know what it is. We got to go scout it
Yeah,
before we
dude,
run
that's
it.
what I'm
So
saying.
yeah.
Any excuse I have to hang out with Caleb Cole, I'll take it.
Hey, let's go. Well,
Sweet.
with that, that's all for today, folks. Thank you again, Drew. Loved having you on. Again, we'll have the Drew's information in the show notes, so follow him. And remember, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, make today your best day yet. Bye bye.